Fantasy is good on its own mythology and magic alone, but how do you add that extra spice to the show? The answer: action. A fantasy anime with well-developed characters and action sequences can definitely make you binge-watch episode after episode until your eyes scream enough. And when it comes to anime, fantasy isn't always about dragons and magic. We've got Victorian mysteries, sea adventures, or some genuinely good apocalyptic action. So, what are the best 15 action fantasy anime out there? Let's find out. Number 15. Blade and Soul. Anime doesn't always originate from Japanese stories, and Blade and Soul is a good example for that. It is based on a Korean fantasy, martial arts, massively multiplayer online role-playing game, and the anime only adapts a single storyline of the game series. The anime focuses on the character of Alka, as she is hired by a group of villagers as a mercenary against the armies of the Param Empire. Through her journey, Alka learns a lot about the evil machinations of the Empire and her own past related to it. Since it's based on a role-playing game, Blade and Soul has a well-crafted magic system. One of its most unique features is the races, based on the 4 Chinese symbols. The series also has some great fight scenes, and is one of those great anime that passed under everyone's radar. Number 4. Black Butler. Fantasy isn't all about heroes fighting monsters in faraway fantasy lands. Black Butler happens in the Victorian era and tells the story of Ciel Phantomhive, who serves as Queen Victoria's watchdog. When he was a child, assailants had attacked his mansion and killed his family, then had sold the 13-year-old Ciel to slavery. After enduring countless tortures, Ciel was rescued by a demon, who in return placed a sigil in his eye and consumed his soul. The anime follows his adventures with a Phantomhive household, where he is charged with solving crimes in London's underworld. Black Butler's main shining point is its characters and setting. The world is built in a realistic way, resembling the Victorian era. The character of Ciel is a person who can take away everyone's attention as soon as he appears on scene, and his bonds with the demon Sebastian Michaelis has its own mysteries. Number 13. Berserk. If you are a manga fan, then it is considered as a crime if you haven't read Berserk. As a manga, it has some great art, a great revenge story, along with some interesting character personalities. Though the anime series it spawned doesn't reach that standard, it does manage to do a moderate amount of justice to the manga. Berserk is a story centered around Guts, a lone mercenary, and his later adventures and rivalries with Griffith, the leader of a mercenary group called Band of the Hawk. Berserk isn't a show for the lighthearted, since it is one of the most accurate shows that depicts the dystopian medieval world, its treacheries, and the burdens thrown to the people living in it. Number 12. Maka Ouiji, Devils and Realist. Let's move back to England, 1889, and let's involve demons again. Yes, Maka Ouiji happens when teenager William Twining summons a demon in his basement while looking for money to pay his tuition. The demon claims that he has been chosen to rule over hell after Lucifer, and he's a direct descendant of King Solomon. Yes, no wonder William denied this fact and decided to lead a normal life. I would do the same if a demon in my basement told me that. But this demon follows William, and before long, he is involved in a power struggle between hell and heaven as more and more people realize the potential of his power. Maka Ouiji is a more supernatural fantasy that revolves around themes like beliefs, sin, and of course, hell. Call it the anime version of Lucifer. Number 11. Akame ga Kill. Akame ga Kill is a combination of an action fantasy show and a more darker political show. Many fans of this show like to call it the Game of Thrones of anime because it has a habit of killing the characters at unexpected moments. It is about the boy named Tatsumi who joins a rebel group called Night Raid in fighting against the cruel rule of the government. The Night Raid carries Tegu, which are powerful weapons they use in their battles. One thing that is great about Akame ga Kill is its power systems and character abilities. Each character is given a unique ability that makes them easily stand out from others. And even the character deaths are played in a way to commend the character's goals and not just for the surprise factor. Number 10. Mushi Bugyu. Even though it feels like you broke your tongue while pronouncing it, the anime is actually very good. It happens in an alternate feudal-era Japan where creatures called Mushi started appearing and attacking people. The cities were soon establishing their own armed forces to fight these creatures, and they acted under the Mushi Magistrate. The story follows a cheerful samurai named Jinbei Tsukushima, who answers the summons for warriors and decides to defend his nation. Apart from its apocalyptic Walking Dead setting, the show also has some cool fights and mystery lurking around in its story. The theme of this show is humans versus monsters, but it doesn't take long to show that in the end, most of the monstrosities are done by the humankind itself. If you want a 26-episode samurai versus monster action, then Mushi Bugyu is the show for you. Number 9. Magi: Adventures of Sinbad. If you loved The Adventures of Sinbad as a kid, then you can follow up the anime version of it in Magi: Adventures of Sinbad. It tells the story of the original Sinbad, how he meets a magi named Yunnan, and his challenge to the Dungeon Baal. If you know Sinbad, you know you're up for some fantasy. And what makes Adventures of Sinbad so unique is that it completely diverts away from the magical knights and magic academies and instead focuses on sailors, their adventures, and various monsters they meet along the way. You can even call it the little brother of One Piece. Magi: Adventures of Sinbad is fantasy done right, and of course, you get some cool action along with the adventures as well. Number 8. Blue Exorcist. Maka Ouiji isn't the only anime with a main character who is related to Satan. In fact, Rin Okumura from Blue Exorcist is a guy who is the son of Satan himself. He learns that later on when he witnesses the death of Father Shiro Fujimoto. He soon inherits the power of Satan with powerful magical blue flames that can destroy anything he touches. To keep his powers under control and prevent him from going berserk, he joins the True Cross Academy, an academy that trains exorcists. The anime follows the events that occur as he joins the academy. Apart from having an overpowered protagonist who can literally burn anything with blue flames, the anime has also got some interesting antagonists and a good power system that actually complements the amazing fight scenes in it. Number 7. Soul Eater. Amazing fight choreography, an interesting fantasy setting, godlike villain, great character development. If any of that sounds interesting, then go check out Soul Eater. It happens in a completely fictional world where a school is run by a Shinigami. This school trains students to fight various monsters and collect their souls. Each of these students get a partner that can transform to a weapon. The anime follows the story of 3 such students and involves the awakening of the god known as Asura. Soul Eater has some interesting backstory weaved to its world, and it is extremely character-focused as well. Each character develops through the story facing their own personal struggles, as well as the threats of the world. The ending is not related to the manga, so it is up to you to either love it or hate it. but the story in between can keep you hooked through the entire season. Number 6. Tower of God. Tower of God, similar to Blade and Soul, isn't originating from a Japanese medium. Instead, it is based on a webcomic written by a Korean author. This was one of the reasons it got the spotlight during the summer. Instead of directly diving to the action, it slowly unravels the adventures of Bam and Rachel, two teenagers who climb the tower. The tower is a mysterious piece of architecture with floors that are the size of entire countries with their own cultures and fighting styles. Anyone who climbs to the top can achieve anything they want, sort of like a holy grail. Bam joins a group of other trainees who also want to climb the tower, and the anime follows his adventures as he tries to find Rachel, who is lost in the tower. It has some great world building, and you never know when the plot twists will hit you. Number 5. Blast of Tempest. Blast of Tempest is part revenge story and part fantasy that ties into a much grandeur plot. We follow Mahiro Fuwa, whose stepsister is mysteriously murdered along with his family. Mahiro now seeks revenge upon the people who murdered his sister. On his journey, he rescues Hakaze Kusaribe, a girl abandoned by her own clan, and together, they plan to defeat the Kusaribe clan, who plan on awakening the Tree of Ruin and bringing death to the entire world. Unlike most fantasy anime, Blast of Tempest falls into the dark fantasy genre, with also some mystery embedded to its story. It is popular for paying homage for Shakespearean work such as Hamlet and The Tempest. So, there you go, Shakespearean geeks, there's an anime out there for you as well. 4. Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. Yes, we've got another Magi series entry in our list, and that's simply because they're good. Ever read the story of Ali Baba as a kid? Magi, Labyrinth of Magic is a retelling of these classic tales, or sometimes story arcs that have gained inspiration from it. The story begins when a boy named Aladdin travels along the world with his friend named Ugo and finds a boy named Ali Baba, a boy who wants to explore the dungeon named Ammon. The two become fast friends and the narrative moves on from there onwards, explaining their adventures one by one. It has a combination of a deep magic system unlike other fantasy anime, and the way the writers combine fantasy elements with classical story elements is something unique only to this show. If you are a fan of One Piece, adventure, and some great world building, Magi, Labyrinth of Magic is the perfect anime to add on to your watch list. Number 3. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It is currently ranked number 1 on my anime list. So what else do you need as proof? The reason many critics push this as one of the best anime ever made is because it comes with a whole package. Great characters, a genuinely intriguing story, and moments that can make you laugh and cry at the same time. For those who don't know, it is about two brothers named Edward and Alphonse Elric who travel on a journey to find a Philosopher's Stone. This stone can grant you any wish, and Edward's only wish is to give his brother's body back, whose soul is trapped in a metal suit due to an experiment gone wrong. There are no magical academies and Satans, but what you will find is a genuinely compelling character drama that revolves around complex characters and a well-built alchemy system. Number 2. Fate Zero. The reason I wanted to push Fate Zero up in the list is because of the masterpiece of a light novel it was based on. Written by the famous author Gen Urobuchi, Fate Zero tells the events prior to Fate's Stay Night and revolves around the Fourth Holy Grail War. You've got 7 masters fighting each other with 7 heroic spirits, but unlike the original Fate Stay Night, its prequel focuses more on concepts like heroism, utilitarianism, and deontology. Each character is fixed on their own ideals which they are desperately trying to prove are right, and among them, you've also got heroic spirits who realize their own faults in the past. Mix it all with the overly pessimistic tone and you've got an anime version of a Greek tragedy. Number 1. Attack on Titan. Where do I even start with this one? It is a common saying among the fandom that if you know the word anime, then you should know the name Attack on Titan. Its conflict of humanity versus titans is intriguing alone, but as the seasons move on, we are introduced to the secrets of the world, betrayals of characters, and plot twists that can literally flip the internet over 180. There is no other anime that can be compelling, action-packed, and well-directed like Attack on Titan. There's tragic character deaths, political mysteries, and even characters who appear as minor characters in the first season who get to play a bigger role in the later seasons. If you haven't watched it, well, nothing's stopping you. Get ready to binge watch nearly 60 episodes of Humans vs. Titans. So, there you go. These are 15 of the best fantasy anime out there. If you feel like we missed your favorite show, don't hesitate to mention it down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, drop a like and show some support. Also, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't joined us yet and want to see more awesome content like this in the future. With that said, I'll see you in the next video, anime fans.